Welcome to the next session on Python. In this, we are going to simulate the rolling of a dice, and we'll use the random simulation module. So I'm going to add a Python program new, and I'll just call it sample. And I could actually go and add the module. Let's go and add the module. So the first one I'm adding is the maths module. The second module that I want to add is the random simulation module. So that's menu, random, import, and then I want to add the system module. So menu, more modules, and system, and then that's the one. So I've added the three modules. Now when I roll a dice, there are 6 possible outcomes. So I'm going to store those outcomes as a list. So I'm going to use the letter O, U, and then say equal to. So this is storing, and the list. So the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Initially, before I start rolling the dice, the number of times each of these numbers 1 to 6 has appeared is 0. So my initial count is going to be 0. So that's my next list. So count equals, and I'm going to put 0, comma 0, comma 0, comma 0, comma 0, comma 0. So I should have 6 zeros. Yes, I do. Okay, the next thing is we are going to ask the user how many times do we want to roll the dice. So let's go and get a user input. So if I go to menu, and if we go into built-ins, and you will see over there that's the input, and the one we are saying is input there, and we want to store this input. So let's call it n equals, and we also want this to be an integer value. So I can actually go and type an int. Otherwise I can go into types and pick up what kind of input do I want. So I'll just show you if I want to pick it up from there. So if I go to menu, and if I go into type, and you will see over there the first one is integer. So you can use the template there. So integer, and the input should go into the bracket there. So I'm going to enter some text, and the text is enter a number, and let's just correct the spelling. Number, the user can enter any number, but I'm just going to say up to 1000. Okay, but it could be a number bigger than 1000 as well. Okay, and that's in. If I want to print the list or the outcomes, I can do that later on. I don't actually need to do that now. So I've got this bit of information. Now I'm going to use the loop command, because we are saying it should run the number of times the user has entered. So if he enters 900, then it should run 900 times. So I'm going to do for, and once again menu, and built-ins, and controls, and we are going to use the for command. Okay, so that's the for, and the index, I can just use the letter I, and in the range, so we are going to go 0, and the number n that we have started, so we are starting with that, so that should be a 0, not O. It's better, and we'll go in steps of 1. So that's what I should have. Okay, and the colon is great. Now we are saying let's go and count, and we're going to generate a random integer. So rand int, and again I can get this from there. Now the indexing starts from 0, so I actually will go from 0 to 5, so which is basically 1 2 3 4 5, and then we are saying every time this is done you do +1. So we'll do plus and equal to 1, so it will add 1 to the value of n each time. So we start with 0, then it will go to 1, then 2, and so on. And I'm going to add another for command, and I'm going to create another for loop now. So menu, and go into built-ins, and controls, and for, and this time I'm going to use the letter K there in the range, and we are going from 0 to 6 and comma 1. Okay. So that's my k loop, and in the block I'm going to say print, and what we need to do is go k plus 1 each time. So in the loop it's going to be plus 1. So print, and I'm just going to add some string that is text over there, so face value, and once I actually run the code you will see what basically it does. So face value, and here we are going to go k plus 1, so it's going to add 1 to k each time, and it's going to print that. So k can take values as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to print them, and plus 1. So 0 plus 1, that would be the first one. Let's go and do number of times. Number of times. Let's do that. And what we are going to say is count k. So let's close up the bracket. Okay, and list. So now I want to actually create a list. So list of count. So and I need to use the normal bracket. I don't actually need to even use a bracket, so might as well, because I'm just storing it. And then let's say print the list. Now I'm actually going to get it to talk to the list and spreadsheet page, and also to the data and statistics page. So what I'm going to do is go into menu and go into more modules and system modules, and we are going to actually store this list. So I'm going to store two lists. The first list will be called OU, and it's OU, that was the outcome. And then I'm going to copy this, and the second one we have called it list. So let's go and just type in list there. So now this will be available to us via list and spreadsheet page, and also data and statistics, or any maths page or notes page for list. So now let's go and run this. Control R, and how many times? Let's go and say 700. And if I add all these numbers, 123, 102, and so on, they should add up to 700. So we've got these as a list. And if I go here, that's my program there. If I go here, I've got the pie chart that's generated for this, and I've got the list and spreadsheet page over here. So at the moment I've got values as 123, 102. So if I run the program again, these should get updated. So Control R, and let's do 900 this time, and we'll just check. So at the moment the value was 123, so this time it's going to be something else, 139. So now if I go here, that's changed to 139, and if I go to my chart, those are also actually updated. So that's just getting a pie chart. So I've got the outcome there and the list there. So this is coming directly from the Python program that I wrote. So here's another program that I have written. It is heads or tail in Python. So I won't actually go through the entire coding steps. I'll just talk you through the program. So the first thing I've done is a maths import, and then the random import. So these are the two modules that I'm going to use, and I'm expecting a user input. So in this case, we are actually going to either toss a coin or roll a dice. So the user has to decide whether it's a coin or a dice. So the first input is CD. So C for the coin and D for dice. And we are saying that equals input. And that's going to be a string input. So enter C for coin or D for the dice. So we may need to make sure that our number of brackets match up. And then the other input is the number of times we want to toss the coin or roll the dice. So that's N. So the outcome for us initially is 0 because it's an empty list. We haven't tossed the coin or we haven't rolled the dice yet. And I is going to be 1. So while I can take values, so over here I'm actually using the while loop, and then I'm going to use the if condition, and we're going to use the if condition twice. So we're going to put two conditions there. So while loop, so here it says I can take values less than equal to n, and n is the number that the user would input. So it could be 10 times, 20 times, or whatever. So now we are saying if CD equals C, that means we are actually talking of the coin toss. So equal to, I have to use two equal to signs, and the colon has to be there, and it's a string. Now we are saying let's generate a random integer, and the integers can take 1 and 2 as values. So if it is 1, we are saying it's a head. If it is 2, then it's going to be a tail. So we'll have a else condition there. So the two conditions, first is if it is C, then this is, we are seeing whether it's a head or a tail. So if I go further down, else we are saying it's a toss. So we are saving the outcome as a toss. So the toss could be a head or it could be a tail. That's the result. And if the initial selection for the person was D, then we need to go to that. Else, if it's D, so I don't need to say else if, I can just say else, and then that means we are talking of rolling a dice. So the dice can take values from 1 to 6, so random integer between 1 to 6, and we are still saving it as a toss because we want to combine it together. So toss, and over here I'm saying outcome and append. So each time this runs, we want to add the new list, so toss. And because we are saying it's I plus 1 because it's going to the next toss, so it's going to be plus and then equal to 1. That's how we kind of work with a while or a for loop. And then we are saying print outcome. So let's run this program. So Control R, and let's say we select C first, and then it says number of times, let's say 10 times, and it's given us the 10 outcomes. I want if I want to count, I can do that as well by putting the count symbol. Those should be 10 of them. So let's do Control R, let's run it again, and this time I'm going to select D. That means we are rolling a dice, number of times 6 times, and it gives me the outcome. So the first time I rolled the dice, I got a 6, and so on. So this is a very short program, so it's quite an easy one. The entire I can probably just make the size smaller so you can actually see the entire program in one go. So if I go into actions, settings, and if I just drop that size to 7, you should be able to see the entire code now. So that's the entire code, and then of course we want to just print that. All right, we're going to look at another program using the random module in mathematics, and this one is a simulation of a game called Lucky 7. So I'll actually run the program first to explain the game. So we'll just run this program. So if I do Control R, it's going to run, and it says enter a start amount. So this is the amount the person may go with to the casino. So let's say he goes with $1,000. He may not use all the $1,000, and he goes to this particular table where they have the lucky 7 number of rounds. He's going to play 5 rounds and enter the play amount. So the first time he puts $200, and now it's called Lucky 7 the game because you have 3 possibilities. The sum of 2 dice that are being rolled could be 7. The sum of the 2 dice that are being rolled could be less than 7 or below 7, or it could be above 7. So the probability of getting a total of 7 is low, and that is why if the person puts his money on 7 and the dice sum adds up to 7, the 2 dice, the person will get triple the amount that he put over there. So if he put 100, he will get 300 back. So 200 is the amount he actually wins on top of his money that he put over there. Whereas if he puts his money below 7 and the sum of the 2 dice that is rolled is less than 7, then he gets double the amount. So he gets $100 extra if he put 100. And the same would happen if the sum was greater than 7 and he put his money above 7. It would still be a win. It will be a win for him. However, if he put his money in greater than 7, but the sum was equal to 7 or less than 7, then he loses that amount. So let's run through this. So it's asking us where is the person putting the money. So let's go and put above 7. So A7, above 7. And as I mentioned earlier, this is case sensitive, the information that is input. So A7 stands for above 7, L7 stands for lucky 7, and B7 is below 7. Okay, so the dice total was 7, sum of dice. So in this case, there is a loss of $200. So he started with $1,000. Now the person has a balance of 800. So he's going to put in another 200, let's say. It could be 300 or whatever. And this time he puts it at below 7. So let's see what happens. The total is 8. So again, it's a loss. So now from 800, he has lost $200 more. So he's down to 600. So let's put 300 and let's put above 7. And the total was 9. So again, loss. So, oh, above 7, correct. And the total was 9. So it's a win this time. So the person has won 600 extra, so he's back to 900. So let's go and put 100, and let's put lucky 7, try 7, and the total was 8. So again, it's a loss. So we're down to 800. So let's put 200, and let's try lucky 7 again, and the total is 6. So we have again lost 200. So down to 600. So I started with 1,000, lost 200, lost another 200, then picked up 300, and then lost 100, and then lost another 200. So from 1,000 I'm down to 6,000. So this is what the game is. So now let's look at the code, and I imported 3 modules. So math import, the random import. I actually don't need the math import, but I normally just try and put it there. And the system import, because I wanted to clear the screen each time I run this game. So clear history is there because of, the system import is there because I want to clear the history. So A is the initial amount the person came with to the casino. So that's a float value, and that's an input that the user will put. N is the number of rounds he is intending to play. So in our case, I put 4, and for A, I had put 1,000, but it could be anything. Now, initially, outcome is empty. So it's an empty list, which is going to get populated at each step. So I is 1. Toss initially, I've just used the word toss, and that's the amount A. So the starting amount is A, and then I've saved that as H. So this is going to be appended to the outcome each time. So every time we go through the while loop, we are going to append that. So I can take values less than equal to n, and in this case it's going to start from 1, then go on to 2, 3, and 4. So P is the initial amount, so that's going to be printed. So enter play amount. So the person can play $200 or $300, so that's the play amount. L is the selection where the person is actually putting his money below 7, at lucky 7 or above 7, and every time he puts his money, he will be short by that amount. So if he started with $1,000, and if he put 200, it's going to be 1,000 minus 200, which will be 800. So H will be recalculated to 800. S is the sum of the 2 dice that we are rolling. So that's the first dice, and then that's the second dice. It adds it up. So now we have created a loop or an if condition. So the 2 conditions is the person is putting his money below 7, and because we are saying it should be equal to, that's why I put a double equal to sign. So that's saying the person made a choice of below 7, and for him to win, the sum should be less than 7. So if both these conditions are met, he will win, and he'll win twice the amount he put. So this is displaying the total of the 2 dice, and this is telling us whether it was a win or a loss. So if this condition is not met, it goes right down here, else it's a loss, and the loss is the amount will be subtracted, which is minus P, and then it's going to just create the new amount as H toss, and that will be saved, and it will keep adding or populating to the list. So this will be a code that would be common, a line that would be common to all conditions. So let's go. So there's a win. if both these conditions are met. Likewise, if he puts his money above 7, so A7 is above 7, then the total should be greater than 7. If both these conditions are met, it's a win for him, and the amount he wins is 2 times P. So H plus 2P. So H, keep in mind, would first subtract P and then it will go plus 2P. And then if it's a win, then we are saying add that to the running total. So that's kind of giving us the running total. And then the third condition, we are saying if he puts his money on lucky 7 and the sum is also 7. So can you see the double equal to sign? So I just can't use a single equal to sign. It will give me a syntax error. So the dice total in this case would be 7, and the amount he wins would be 3 times the money that he put. So H plus 3P, and then we are going to append this to the list. So that's really the code. And the last step over here, because it's a while loop, so it goes through 1, then the next one will be 1 plus 1, which will be 2. So that plus is the 1 value each time. So it says plus, and the value we are plussing is equal to 1. So if I wanted to go in steps of 2, then I'll say I plus equal to 2. And then we print the final outcome. So let's run this again. We'll just start with $100. Let's play small, and I'm going to play 2 rounds, and I'm going to put $20 initially, and I'm going to put above 7, and oh, I win because the total is 11, so my amount has become 120. So I got 20 extra because I put 100, I took 20 from there, so my balance was 80, and then 80 means I won 40, so I'm back to 120. So let's go and do the next one. I'm going to put 60, and let's put below 7, and the total was 7. That means lucky 7. Oh yes, I put lucky 7 and the total was 7, so I win. So that's great. So I started with 100, I ended up with 240. So that's what this program is. So I'm going to stop there. The next program that I'm going to write for you would be using the drawing or the canvas on Python. So watch out for that video. Thank you.